To get the most out of this video, follow the subtitles while listening to the narration in English. Use headphones to better capture the pronunciation and intonation. Try repeating the words and phrases out loud as this will help reinforce memorization.
The morning sun was peeking through the blinds, casting golden light across the small bedroom. The room was cozy but chaotic, clothes draped over a chair, a half-packed lunch on the desk, and the loud buzz of a phone alarm vibrating for the third time. A young woman in her mid-20s with short curly hair, warm brown skin, and hazel eyes sat up in bed with a jolt. She looked at the clock and gasped. "Oh no! Not again," she said, rubbing her eyes quickly. It was already 7:45 a.m. Her bus left at 8 o'clock sharp. She jumped out of bed and dashed to the bathroom, brushing her teeth while tying her sneakers with one hand. Every morning seemed to start this way. No matter how many alarms she set, she was always running behind. While putting on her jacket, she looked in the mirror and took a deep breath. "Okay. Today I will not be late. Today I will run faster, smile brighter, and maybe, just maybe, I'll make it on time." She grabbed her bag, stuffed with a notebook, snacks, and a tiny keychain shaped like a lucky star. That keychain was a gift from her best friend, and she carried it everywhere. As she stepped outside, the city was already awake. Cars honked, people walked fast, and the smell of fresh bread from the bakery on the corner filled the air. She loved that smell. It made her feel like the day still had hope. She reached the corner and glanced at the clock on her phone. 7:58 a.m. "Oh no, 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 no," she muttered and started running toward the bus stop. Her feet pounded the pavement. Her heart raced. Just 2 more blocks. The morning wind brushed against her cheeks as she dodged a man with a newspaper and a little dog pulling on its leash. She turned the corner, and there it was, her bus. The driver was just about to close the door. "Wait! Please!" she shouted, waving her arms wildly. The driver, a kind man with a gray beard and tired eyes, gave her a familiar smile and held the door open. "Cutting it close again, huh?" She laughed, breathless. "You have no idea." She climbed aboard, heart still pounding, and found her usual seat near the middle. The windows were fogged, and people were quietly scrolling their phones or sipping coffee from travel mugs. As she settled into her seat, she pulled out her phone and checked the time again. 8 a.m. exactly. She made it. For a moment, she let herself relax. But then she remembered today wasn't just any day. Today was the day her team was meeting the new boss for the first time. And being late today? Not an option. She pulled out her compact mirror to check her reflection. Curl had gone wild, but she smiled anyway. Just then, her phone buzzed. A text from her coworker. "He's already here. Look serious. Don't be late." She groaned and whispered, "Too late for that warning." The bus rolled forward. The city blurred past the windows. She leaned her head back and whispered to herself with a grin, "Let the adventure begin." The bus stopped 2 blocks from her office, so she leapt off and began walking briskly down the busy sidewalk. Her office building, a tall, modern glass structure, reflected the early morning sun. People rushed in and out of the lobby. Everyone seemed more serious today. She checked her watch, 8:19 a.m. just enough time to grab a coffee. She needed it. Turning quickly, she slipped into her favorite corner cafe, a small, warm place with wooden tables, soft jazz music, and the smell of roasted beans. The barista, a cheerful man with tattoos and a bright smile, greeted her. "Running late again?" he asked, already reaching for a to-go cup. "You know me too well," she laughed, trying to catch her breath. "Extra strong today. I need courage in a cup." He handed her the steaming coffee with a wink. "1 cup of courage coming up." She took a deep breath, inhaling the rich aroma, and stepped back out onto the sidewalk. A breeze tugged at her coat. She was ready, or so she thought. As she reached the building entrance, she paused to sip her drink, just a moment to gather herself. That's when she saw him. Standing near the door was a tall man in a navy coat, holding a leather folder, looking slightly lost. He had soft brown hair, kind blue eyes, and a gentle presence that somehow calmed the rush around him. He was staring at the building with a hesitant smile. She recognized him from a photo in the company email. The new boss. And he looked completely unsure of where to go. Without thinking, she stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said, offering a polite smile. "Are you looking for the main entrance?" He turned, a bit surprised, but his smile was warm. "Yes, actually. First day nerves, I guess." She laughed. "You're not alone. I'm nervous too, and I've been here for 3 years." His eyebrows raised with amusement. "Good to know I'm in good company." She pointed toward the glass doors. "You'll want the elevator on the left. Floor 12. Tar is waiting to welcome you. And, good luck." He nodded gratefully. "Thank you. That really helps." Just then, her phone buzzed again, another message from her coworker. "He's still not here. Everyone's wondering where he is." She quickly put her phone away, then looked back at the man beside her. "Actually," she added with a light chuckle, "you're already a mystery around the office. People are watching the clock." He laughed, seeming more relaxed now. "Well, I guess I should make my grand entrance." She smiled. "You've got this." He walked ahead, and for a second she just watched him go. Something about the moment made her heart skip. Coffee in one hand, she entered the building behind him. Somehow the air inside felt different. Like maybe, just maybe, this day would be more than just another day of being late. Maybe it was the beginning of something new. The morning went by quickly, the sound of keyboards clicking and phones ringing filling the open-plan office. But her mind kept wandering back to the moment outside the building. She couldn't shake the image of him, standing there, unsure but kind, a bit like a person who needed to find their place in the world, just like her. "Do you think he'll make a good boss?" Sarah, her colleague, asked as she passed by with a stack of papers. She glanced at the man's office door, now closed. "I hope so. He seems nice." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Just nice? You think that's enough to lead this place?" She shrugged. "Maybe not. But it's a start." Her phone buzzed on her desk, pulling her attention away. A calendar reminder popped up, team meeting in 10 minutes. Her heart raced a little. She'd been dreading this meeting. The new boss would be there, and she wasn't sure what to expect. Would he be formal, tough, or just lost in the crowd like the rest of them? With a deep breath, she grabbed her notebook and headed to the conference room. The room was already half filled when she arrived. She took a seat near the back, glancing up just as the door opened, and in walked the man from earlier. His coat was gone, replaced with a navy blue blazer. He looked more confident now. He had to be. He was the boss. He gave a quick wave and everyone stopped talking. It wasn't a commanding gesture, but one of warmth. Like he was genuinely trying to make everyone feel comfortable. He cleared his throat. "Hi, everyone. I'm James, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm not great with big speeches, but I just want you all to know that I'm here to listen and to help however I can." He smiled, and for a moment the tension in the room seemed to ease. The atmosphere lightened. People began to nod, their apprehension fading. Her own nerves started to calm, too. The meeting progressed smoothly, and James kept the tone casual, asking people to introduce themselves and share something fun about their roles. His laid-back attitude broke the ice, and even the most shy employees began to speak up. When it was her turn, she hesitated for just a moment before standing. "I'm Emma," she said, trying to sound confident, "and I work in marketing. I've been here for a while, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how we can all work together." He smiled at her. "Marketing, huh? That's important work. We'll have to talk sometime." She nodded, feeling a little spark of excitement. There was something about his presence, something that made her want to trust him. But she also couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't exactly what he appeared to be. Maybe he was pretending to be relaxed, just as she sometimes pretended to have everything together. As the meeting wrapped up, James thanked everyone for their time and promised to meet with each department soon. He gave another warm smile and left the room, leaving everyone buzzing with thoughts of what the future might hold. Emma sat back in her chair, her mind racing. Maybe this was the chance she had been waiting for, to make a real difference at the company, to take on a new challenge. Or maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something more personal. The idea of working closely with him, of collaborating and building something together, felt right. And as she gathered her things to leave, she noticed the sun streaming through the windows. A new day was definitely beginning. The next few weeks flew by in a blur of meetings, projects, and deadlines. James was present at every meeting, listening more than speaking, always encouraging collaboration. The office dynamic began to change, and Emma couldn't help but notice the small but significant shift. People were starting to feel more comfortable, more open. But with that comfort came a new challenge. One morning, as Emma sat at her desk sipping coffee, a new email popped up on her screen. The subject line read, "Team project, strategy meeting, your input needed." Her heart skipped a beat. This was it, the project she'd been waiting for. A chance to show James what she was capable of. The email laid out the plan. They would be launching a new marketing campaign for a major client. It was big. Really big. And her role was to lead the creative direction. Emma knew that this was her time to shine. She had all the right ideas, but she also knew it would take more than just creativity to succeed. She would need the full support of her team and of James. She glanced at her calendar. The meeting was set for the next morning. She needed to prepare. Later that day, as she walked past the break room, she overheard Sarah talking to one of their co-workers. "Did you hear? James is making some big changes in the company. He's rearranging departments. It's like he's already planning something big." Her curiosity piqued. Emma slowed her pace, listening closely. Sarah continued, "I just hope we're not all going to have to scramble to keep up. I'm not sure how I feel about all these new ideas." Emma's stomach tightened. The thought of James making big changes was both exciting and terrifying. Was he about to change the entire company? Would the project she was so eager to lead still be her responsibility? And if so, how could she ensure it would be successful with so many uncertainties ahead? The next morning, as she walked into the conference room, her mind was buzzing with questions. James was already there, his eyes focused on a stack of papers in front of him. He looked up as she entered, giving her a small smile. "Good morning, Emma. Ready for the meeting?" She nodded, though her nerves were starting to rise. "I'm ready." The meeting began with James outlining the key objectives for the marketing campaign. Emma's mind raced as he spoke, her thoughts drifting between strategy and execution, the deadline approaching faster than she expected. "As we move forward, I want us to think outside the box," James said, leaning forward. "I'm counting on all of you to bring your best ideas. And Emma, I know you've got a strong vision for this project." The compliment caught her off guard, but she smiled, trying to mask the nerves bubbling inside her. She had spent weeks preparing, but the real work was just beginning. The room filled with energy as the team began to discuss different concepts, bouncing ideas off one another. It was a true collaborative effort, and Emma felt a sense of camaraderie she hadn't experienced before. She contributed her thoughts, making sure her voice was heard but also valuing the input of others. As the meeting continued, Emma began to feel a growing sense of responsibility. This wasn't just about her ideas anymore, it was about leading the team to execute them. There were so many moving parts, so many unknowns, and the pressure was starting to mount. But then, as the conversation shifted to the next stage of planning, she noticed something. James wasn't just asking for suggestions. He was listening. Really listening. He wasn't trying to force his own agenda. Instead, he was letting the team guide the direction. It was something she hadn't expected. James wasn't a micromanager. He was a leader who trusted his team. As the meeting wrapped up, he looked around at everyone with a satisfied expression. "Great ideas, everyone. I'm excited to see where this goes. Emma, let's meet after the meeting to go over next steps." Her heart skipped a beat. The real challenge had just begun, but now, more than ever, she was ready. The days following the strategy meeting passed in a blur of phone calls, emails, and brainstorming sessions. Emma spent long hours working with her team, refining ideas, setting goals, and ensuring that everything was in place for the launch. Pressure was mounting, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. One afternoon, as she was going over some design concepts, James called her into his office. She walked in, her heart racing slightly as she wondered what was on his mind. "Emma, have a seat," he said with a welcoming smile. I wanted to talk to you about how things are going with the campaign. You're doing great work, and I'm impressed with the direction you're taking." She sat down, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. It was good to hear that her efforts were being recognized. "Thank you, James. Team is really pulling together on this. It's been a lot of work, but I think we're getting there." James nodded, his expression serious now. "I'm glad to hear that. But I also want you to know that we're at a critical point. The next few weeks are going to be intense. We need to keep our focus, and I'm counting on you to lead this project. I know you're up for the challenge." Emma felt a surge of determination. "I won't let you down. I'll make sure we're ready." "Good," James said. "I believe in you. You've got the vision. Now it's time to turn that vision into reality." As she left his office, Emma couldn't help but feel the weight of his words. This was her moment. The future of the campaign, and maybe even her career, was in her hands. She wasn't just leading a project, she was leading the way forward for the entire team. And that responsibility felt both empowering and terrifying. She returned to her desk and gathered her thoughts. The pressure was higher than ever, but Emma wasn't about to back down. She would do whatever it took to succeed. Her team was counting on her, and she wouldn't let them, or herself, fail. Over the next few days, Emma's leadership skills were put to the test in ways she hadn't expected. While the creative side of the project was flowing smoothly, the logistics were more challenging. Deadlines were tight, and the client had some last-minute revisions that added to the already long to-do list. As Emma met with different departments to discuss progress, she found herself making tough decisions. Pressure was starting to take a toll on her. Late nights at the office became the norm, and she found herself dreaming of the campaign even while she slept. One evening, as she was reviewing the latest design drafts, she received a text from Sarah. "Hey, are you free for a quick coffee break?" Emma hadn't realized how much she needed a break until she saw the message. She quickly replied, "Sure, I could use one. Meet me at the usual spot." A few minutes later, they were sitting in a small cafe just around the corner from the office, sipping on warm lattes. Emma sighed, feeling the tension in her shoulders begin to ease. Sarah leaned forward, her expression serious. "How's everything going with the project? You've been working non-stop." Emma chuckled softly, rubbing her temples. "It's a lot. I feel like I'm juggling a million things at once. But it's also exciting. I've never had a project with this much weight on it before. I can tell you're handling it well. Everyone's talking about how well you've been managing everything. But you don't have to do it all alone, you know?" Emma paused, looking at Sarah. "I know, but it feels like I should. If I'm going to make this work, I need to be on top of everything. I need to make sure nothing slips through the cracks." "You can do that," Sarah said with a smile. "But just remember, you don't have to do it alone. We're all here to help." The conversation lingered in Emma's mind as she returned to the office later that day. Sarah's words stuck with her. You don't have to do it alone. She had a team behind her. She just needed to trust them more. As she sat down at her desk, she made a mental note to delegate more and allow her team to step up in ways they hadn't before. Pressure would remain, but Emma realized that the real key to success wasn't just in how hard she worked. It was in how well she could lead her team to work together toward a common goal. And now she was ready to make that happen. The final stages of the campaign were upon Emma, and the pressure had never been higher. Deadlines were inching closer, and the client's expectations were at an all-time peak. Emma had spent the last few nights at the office double-checking every detail, ensuring that no mistakes would be made. She couldn't afford any slip-ups, not now. One afternoon, as Emma was reviewing the final drafts of the campaign video, an unexpected email arrived. It was from the client. She clicked on it with a mix of hope and dread. "Dear Emma, I've reviewed the latest version of the campaign. While I appreciate the creative effort, I'm afraid there are several aspects that still don't align with our vision. We need major revisions. Please have these adjustments done by the end of the week." Emma's heart sank as she read the email again. Major revisions? Felt like everything they had worked for over the past weeks was suddenly on the verge of falling apart. Her mind raced as she imagined the team's reaction to this news. Taking a deep breath, Emma stood up from her desk and walked over to the conference room. She needed to talk to her team, get their input, and figure out a plan. The last thing she wanted was to panic. They could fix this. They just needed to stay focused and work together. As she entered the conference room, the team looked up, sensing the gravity in her expression. She could see the concern on their faces, but she wasn't about to let fear take control. "I've just received an email from the client," she began, her voice steady. "They're not happy with the current version of the campaign. We've got some major changes to make, and we have to do it by the end of the week." A tense silence filled the room as the team absorbed the news. Emma's heart was still racing, but she knew they had to act fast. "I know this isn't ideal," Emma continued, "but we can do this. We've got a talented team and we've been through tough situations before. We just need to stay calm and break it down step by step." James, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "We'll need to prioritize the revisions. Let's break down what needs to change and allocate tasks efficiently. We'll need everyone's full effort if we're going to pull this off." Team nodded in agreement. Emma could see the determination in their eyes. They had faced obstacles before, but this was different. This time, the stakes were higher. The client's vision was clear, but it would take everything they had to bring it to life in such a short period of time. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Teams split into smaller groups to tackle specific aspects of the campaign. Emma felt a sense of urgency in every meeting, but she also knew that they needed to keep things organized. It wasn't just about working harder, it was about working smarter. Late on Wednesday night, Emma stood by the conference room window, looking out at the city lights. She had barely left the office in the past 2 days, and fatigue was starting to weigh on her. But there was no time to rest. Not now. As she returned to her desk, she found an email from Sarah, one of her team members, with an update on the revised design elements. Sarah had worked through the night to meet the deadline, and the results were impressive. The new visuals were exactly what the client had been asking for. But there was still so much more to do. Emma smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude. Sarah had always been reliable, and now, more than ever, her commitment was shining through. Emma quickly shot her a message to thank her for the hard work. The following morning, the team met for their final review. Tension in the room was palpable as they went over every detail, checking off tasks as they went along. Emma could feel the weight of the deadline pressing down on them, but she also saw how much they had accomplished in such a short time. With every task completed, Emma felt a sense of accomplishment. It wasn't perfect yet, but they were getting closer. And the client's vision was starting to take shape in a way that felt real. By the end of the week, the final revisions were submitted. Emma leaned back in her chair, exhausted but proud. They had done it. They had met the deadline, and despite the challenges, the campaign was stronger than ever. As she prepared for the client's final approval, Emma couldn't help but reflect on the journey. The obstacles had been tough, but they had brought the team closer together. She knew that whatever happened next, they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The weekend was just around the corner, and Emma was cautiously optimistic. She had stayed late into the night reviewing the final campaign deliverables, and everything seemed to be in place. The stress of the past few days was starting to dissipate, and she could finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. At least that's what she thought. As she sat down for a quick coffee break, her phone buzzed. It was an email from the client. "Emma, we've reviewed the final revisions. There's one more thing, an unexpected development. We need to discuss this as soon as possible. Please arrange a meeting at your earliest convenience." Her heart skipped a beat. The last thing she had expected was another curveball after the chaos they had just been through. She stared at the screen, trying to process the words, but nothing seemed to make sense. Could this be another round of revisions? Or something more serious? Emma immediately replied to the email, suggesting a meeting time for later that afternoon. As the hours ticked by, she tried to stay calm, but the uncertainty gnawed at her. She had worked so hard to meet the client's expectations, and now, just when she thought everything was settled, this new message came through. At the scheduled meeting time, Emma dialed into the video call. She braced herself for whatever was coming, hoping it wasn't as bad as she feared. The client's face appeared on the screen. She could see the concern in his eyes, and it made Emma uneasy. "Emma," he started, his voice tight. "There's been an issue with the campaign. One of our key partners has raised a concern about the messaging. They believe the campaign's tone is misaligned with their brand values. But we need to change the messaging again." Emma's stomach dropped. The phrase, "change the messaging," echoed in her head. She had been through so much already, and now another setback? How much more could they really do in such a short time? "I understand this is a challenge," the client continued, "but it's crucial that we get this right. We have to align with the partner's values, or this campaign won't be approved." Emma took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves. This wasn't just another revision, it was a complete shift in direction. Her mind raced as she thought through the implications of this new request. How would the team react? Could they make the changes quickly without sacrificing quality? Emma ended the call, her mind spinning. A complete shift in direction? This was uncharted territory. She had to think quickly. She couldn't afford to lose the momentum they had gained, but how could she lead her team through this? As the day wore on, Emma called a meeting with her team to break the news. When everyone gathered in the conference room, there was an air of uncertainty, and Emma could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on her shoulders. "Okay," Emma began, trying to steady her voice. "We've hit another bump in the road. Client just informed me that one of their key partners raised a concern about the messaging. They want a complete change in tone. We need to shift the messaging to align with their brand values." The room fell silent. Emma could see the exhaustion in her team's eyes, and she knew this was going to be a tough one. They had already given so much to this project, and now they had to start all over again, adjusting the very core of the campaign. But Emma wasn't ready to give up. Not now. Not after everything they had accomplished. "We can do this," she said, her voice firm. "We've been through worse. This isn't going to stop us. Let's break this down and make a plan." James spoke up first. "We're going to need more time for this, Emma. A complete tone shift is going to require serious revisions to the visuals, the script, everything." "I know," Emma replied, "but we have to find a way to make it work. We can't afford to lose this opportunity. Let's prioritize the most important changes and delegate tasks based on what we can realistically accomplish." As the team began to discuss how to handle the changes, Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose. The situation was tough, but she knew that as long as they kept their focus, they could handle anything. By the end of the meeting, they had a game plan. The new tone would be lighter, more approachable, something that aligned with the partners' values. They didn't have much time, but Emma was confident they could pull it off. As the team dispersed, Emma sat back in her chair, staring at the whiteboard filled with tasks. This wasn't over yet, but she was ready for the challenge. With the right focus and determination, they would get through this, and the campaign would be stronger than ever. The following days were a blur of intense focus. Emma and her team worked tirelessly to adjust the campaign's tone, revising every detail to meet the client's new demands. As the deadline loomed closer, the pressure was overwhelming, but Emma could see the light at the end of the tunnel. By the time they finished the final draft, Emma felt a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. She knew they had put their all into this project, and she couldn't help but feel proud of how far they'd come. It hadn't been easy, but they had persevered. When the time came for the client to review the changes, Emma felt a knot in her stomach. Would they approve this new direction? Would all their hard work pay off? As she sat in her office, waiting for the email to come through, Emma tried to focus on the positives. The team had done their best, and at the end of the day, that was all they could control. Finally, the email arrived. Emma clicked on it with shaky hands. She quickly scanned the message. "Emma, we've reviewed the final revisions. We're pleased to say that the campaign is approved. Excellent work. The new tone aligns perfectly with our brand values. Congratulations to you and your team." A wave of relief washed over Emma. She let out a long breath, her shoulders relaxing for the first time in weeks. It was over. Campaign had passed the final test. She immediately called her team together to share the good news. As they gathered in the conference room, Emma couldn't help but smile. They had faced so many challenges together, but now they were finally seeing the reward for their hard work. "I just got the email," she said, her voice full of pride. "The campaign is approved. We did it, everyone. All of your hard work paid off." A cheer erupted in the room. Everyone had been so invested in this project, and now they could celebrate the success together. The late nights, the stress, the endless revisions, it had all been worth it. The celebration continued long after the meeting ended. Emma took a moment to reflect on everything they had overcome. It had been a roller coaster of emotions, moments of doubt, exhaustion, and frustration, but in the end, the team had emerged victorious. As the weeks passed, the campaign went live, and the results were nothing short of incredible. Engagement surged, and the feedback from the client and their partner was overwhelmingly positive. Team had not only met expectations but exceeded them. For Emma, the experience had taught her a valuable lesson. She had learned how to manage unexpected challenges with grace and perseverance. Most importantly, she had learned that with the right mindset and a strong team, anything was possible. One evening, after a celebratory dinner with her colleagues, Emma took a walk by the river. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the water. She smiled to herself, knowing that this moment, this victory, was a culmination of all the hard work she and her team had put in. She had always believed in the power of persistence, and now she had the proof. As the stars began to twinkle above her, Emma felt ready for whatever challenge came next. She was no longer afraid of the unknown. After all, if she could handle this, she could handle anything.